Okay, so you guys know I love diving into a good royal mess. And this one involving Sarah Ferguson, Fergie, the Duchess of York, whatever you want to call her, is a doozy. It's got everything. Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew, accusations of exploitation, and potentially her daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, finally reaching their breaking point. The headlines are screaming that Fergie is basically in hiding, holed up in the UAE, and that her daughters have cut her off. The reason? Well, it's all tied to the latest Epstein file dump. And let me tell you, these emails paint a picture way beyond just Fergie being a bit tone deaf and staying in touch with a controversial figure. It started to look like she allegedly leveraged her connection to Epstein for her own financial gain, even to the point of potentially offering him access to her daughters, which mean, if true, is just beyond the pale. You have to understand, Fergie has always been a bit of a royal outsider. She was never quite as polished as Diane, and she's had her fair share of scandals over the years, from toe-sucking incidents to massive debt problems. But this Epstein connection and the way it's unfolding is a whole new level of mess. It all seems to be circling back to Fergie's massive financial problem. We're talking a reported £6 million in debt at one point. And apparently she was desperately seeking bailouts, even allegedly telling Epstein that she felt so demoralized that death was easier than her current situation. Can you imagine being that desperate? It's sad, honest. But then you look at the alleged actions she took, and it is hard to feel bad. Now, here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Emails from 2010 allegedly show Fergie writing to Epstein, "I am at your service. Just marry me." Then in another message, "Marry her too. She is single and has a great body." Okay, whoa. That progression from brother to at your service to marry me is just its intimacy sliding into dependency and then something that feels really transactional. And then the message that really made people recoil, "You can marry her too." Like, what is that even supposed to mean? Marry me and then we will employ her. Okay, that wording, which surfaced in summaries of newly unsealed files, doesn't exactly read like distant royal awkwardness, does it? It doesn't stop there. Emails allegedly show Ferguson referring to waiting for Eugenie, then 19, to return from what she described as a shagging weekend, writing that to Epstein. That's not language you use with a distant acquaintance. That's someone comfortable sharing personal details with a convicted offender. Just days after Epstein was released and placed on the sex offender list in 2009, Ferguson reportedly took Beatrice and Eugenie to meet him. Her email suggesting Sarah Ferguson arranged for Epstein to pay for flights for herself and her two daughters. Flights were allegedly arranged, totaling nearly $15,000 business class for Fergie economy for the girls at S.O. When people say the girls didn't know, the timeline complicates that defense because this wasn't hidden from them. And then another detail surfaced. Sources exposed that Andrew sent Christmas photos of Beatrice and Eugenie to Epstein in 2011 and 2012, years after the conviction. Despite publicly claiming he had cut contact, it's a tangled web, and it gets worse. Okay, so like buried in the same tunch are emails referencing Ghislaine Maxwell. There's even a joke about 5 stunning redheads who would have to play with ourselves if Andrew didn't visit the island. Andrew even referred to himself, get this, as the invisible man in that exchange. What does that even mean? And then there's the 2 5-year-old masseuses who later said she didn't feel good being asked to massage Andrew because she thought she might be expected to do more. That statement sits in the files, too. It doesn't prove guilt, obviously, but it adds atmosphere, right? And now the BBC is replaying that 2006 photo from Beatrix's 18th birthday. Maxwell Weinstein all at a royal residence, and nobody is blinking. That's why the sudden outrage feels selective, doesn't it? Well, let's just look at this photo. The key photo in this story, Victoria. Music. The date is July 2006. The occasion is Princess Beatrix's 18th birthday. It was a masked ball. This picture is not new. We knew Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell there in a mask. So Epstein wasn't out of the circle. He was still receiving family up. And let's not forget Fergie and her daughters reportedly invited Epstein to Andrew's 50th birthday at St. James's Palace right after his release, asking him to bring presents, presence and your humor. And then the images surface. Photos released in the Epstein files reportedly show Andrew crouching over a woman lying on the floor, staring directly at the camera, hand placed on her stomach. Another image shows him reclining across women at Sandringham. And that's when the money comes into focus. Reportings details Ferguson's £6 million debt crisis at the time. Discussing selling jewelry, billionaire bailouts, and death is easier than this when someone is drowning financially. And a man like Epstein is positioned as pillar and legend. You start to see why proximity might become currency. And suddenly the question becomes, was access the product? And then that line resurfaces. Sarah allegedly telling Epstein, "No woman has ever left the royal family with her head." That's wording that sounds like a warning, right? And the second that resurfaced, people started asking the obvious. Was she thinking about Princess Diana? Online, people took it even further, saying Diana made sure Harry would always have the money to leave, to be independent, to protect his family. Because if someone inside the system is casually writing that no woman leaves with her head, you start wondering what leaving really costs. Because the emails also show Ferguson allegedly trying to walk back public criticism of Epstein, telling him she wanted to find a way to correct statements, distancing herself, and that she would not want to hurt him by saying something untrue. Beatrice was reportedly present when she called a journalist to manage that narrative, which changes how Beatrice is seen if they're truly gassed and embarrassed as reported. It may not just be about Andrew. It may be about realizing how deep their mother's reliance ran. And that's where the online backlash gets sharp. Posts circulating say the girls were adults in their 20s, allegedly giving tours of royal residences to people connected to Epstein. That's why the innocence narrative isn't landing with everyone. And then this detail emerges. Reports say the late Queen allegedly lent Andrew £7 million to settle his case with Virginia Jaffrey. These claims this morning come from the Sun newspaper. We have put them directly to the palace, but they haven't responded just yet. But this payoff that you mentioned this settlement to Virginia Jaffrey, it was reportedly totaling $12 million from Andrew, though he's always denied any wrongdoing. But it seems that $1.5 million came from quite a few members of the royal family. It's claimed the late Queen contributed £7 million. Another £3 million coming as well. When money repeatedly rescues scandal, it creates insulation, but insulation doesn't erase email trails. And this is where the tension is. Ferguson's charity has reportedly shut down amid fallout. The daughters are reportedly keeping distance. Andrew has relinquished titles. King Charles has been heckled publicly with, "How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?" Then there are viral posts claiming much darker things. Allegations that Prince Andrew was reportedly an accessory to the death of a girl, according to emails released in the Epstein files. The email says he tortured her before forcing someone else to do her, which is exactly why the situation keeps spiraling. So, when whispers start about her hiding in the UAE and allegedly collapsed, the emotional part makes sense because the new emails don't just embarrass. They imply willingness. They imply comfort. They imply that the lines between social contact and financial leverage were blurred. So, if Beatrice and Eugene are parents now, raising daughters of their own, the optics change, right? Suddenly, those 2009 trips don't look like naive family visits. They look like calculated proximity. And if the daughters are indeed stepping back, that's not just PR, that's fracture. Which leaves one question hanging. Were Beatrice and Eugene dragged into a financial desperation scheme they didn't fully understand? Or were they adults inside a network that normalized it? Because the emails so far are just a fraction of the files released. And if this is only what's public, what does the unreleased correspondence look like? If Ferguson really is isolated now, not by the press, but by her own daughters, then this isn't his scandal. It's collapsed from within. And what's more unsettling than what's already out is what hasn't dropped yet. Look, it's easy to paint Fergie as a victim. A woman desperate for money, taken advantage of by a predator like Epstein. But these emails, these alleged actions, they complicate that narrative. It's not just about being naive or a bit silly. It's about potentially putting your children in harm's way. And that's where the sympathy starts to evaporate, at least for me. And what about Andrew? I mean, he's always been a bit of a problematic figure, hasn't he? But to have these allegations resurface, to have his own mother reportedly funding his settlement with Virginia Dupra, it just adds another layer of ick to the whole situation. It's like, how complicit were other members of the royal family in all of this? Did they know what was going on? Did they turn a blind eye? The fact that King Charles is now being publicly heckled about his relationship with Andrew and Epstein, that's a pretty significant shift, right? It's not just tabloid fodder anymore. It's becoming a real question of the monarchy's credibility. I think the biggest takeaway here is that this isn't just about one bad apple or even two. It's about a system that allowed this kind of behavior to flourish. It's about power, money, and the way those things can corrupt even the most well-intentioned people. Or maybe they weren't well-intentioned to begin with. And honestly, the fact that so much of this is still shrouded in secrecy, that we're only getting glimpses of what really happened through leaked emails and unsealed files. It just makes you wonder what else is out there. What other secrets are the royal family trying to keep hidden? What other messes are waiting to be uncovered? It's a rabbit hole for sure, and don't think we've reached the bottom of it yet. It's a reminder that even in the most gilded cages, there can be some seriously dark stuff going on. And sometimes the people we think we know best are capable of the most shocking actions. It's a mess, a royal mess, and be keeping an eye on it